Hi there everyone, my name is Davinia Watson. Now the reason for me doing this video is because earlier on in this year, 2016, I during my pregnancy sadly experienced PPROM. And for those of you that don't know, PPROM stands for preterm pre-labour rupture of membranes. And this is basically when your waters break early. And PPROM is associated with 40% of preterm deliveries. My experience was horrific, and it brought kind of shed some light for me that there really is not enough known in the medical profession about potentially how serious this condition can be. Babies are surviving PPROM, and obviously, not every story is a success story. However, the reason for me doing this video is one, to help raise awareness, and two, for any other mums that could potentially go through what I've been through. It has been a rough journey. I have made some notes here, so I probably will refer to them, and it's quite difficult to talk of my journey, but I feel it's very important, and I would do absolutely anything to help other mums that potentially go through the same as me. So I found out I was pregnant in August 2015. We had a very normal Christmas, exciting Christmas. First time my husband had a Christmas in the UK because he's Egyptian. I also have a 9-year-old son, Isaac. So we all spent Christmas together in England in our house, which was incredible. And obviously I was pregnant. So come the 6th of January, the dreaded morning, and I was, the week prior to that, I had had my 20-week scan and everything had appeared completely normal. So I was 21 weeks and 2 days, and on the morning of the 6th of January, I woke up to what I felt was a popping sensation. Now I knew it wasn't quite right, however, there was only a little bit of fluid that was there, so I continued with getting ready for work. I then, maybe 30 minutes, potentially an hour later, had that same feeling again, and lost a lot more water. So I phoned 111, which is NHS direct line, and the lady on the other end of the phone went through some standard questions with me. This is my story written down here. So she was trying to keep me calm. However, the one question which really stuck out in my head was that she asked me if I could feel the head of the baby or the umbilical cord, which naturally sent me into a complete and utter state of panic. I couldn't, and she explained that she would send an ambulance for me. So off I went into hospital that morning. So upon arriving at hospital, I was greeted with a midwife, like you are, and I was put in my own room. And for a while, I was just sat there waiting, and I hadn't lost any more water. So, I should tell you that. I finally got to see a consultant, and those consultants' words still haunt me to this day and make me physically feel sick. They confirmed that I had lost my waters because they could see pooling on the speculum examination. I'd probably lost the maximum of about 2 egg cupfuls of water at that time. And the words of my consultants were, yes, your waters have definitely broken and you need to terminate your pregnancy as soon as possible. You're young, you're fit, you're healthy. You and your husband can try for another baby. I'll give you 10 minutes to have a think about it, and I'll come back down and we can book you in today. It breaks my heart that this is the first piece of advice that you are given by the medical profession. As a mum carrying her baby at 6 months, where you can feel that baby moving, you know it has a heartbeat, how can you then be told to end that life? It certainly wasn't something I was willing to do, and I wasn't going to let them. So my reply to her was, I don't need 10 seconds to have a think about it, let alone 10 minutes. They explained to me that I would go into labour within 48 hours, 72 hours maximum, and that I will get an infection. So I must do the right thing and end my baby's life. Naturally, I broke down and was absolutely devastated. However, at this moment in time, I hadn't even been given a scan, so they had no idea what my fluid levels were. So I requested that I had a scan, and when they took me down, they found that actually, yes, I had lost some fluid, but I had still normal range fluid levels. So she came up to me and said, "Oh, the good news is that your water levels are in normal range." So she discharged me, gave me some antibiotics, and said she was discharging me because they needed the bed. So then I literally, which I believe at that moment in time, I then lost absolutely every millimetre of water that I had inside me. It was running down my legs. I called the midwife, I called the consultant, and I was just absolutely besides myself. They still told me that I would be discharged there and then, and there was nothing that they could do for me. So I went downstairs in the lift because I was obviously taken there by ambulance, stood in the car park waiting for my mum to come and collect me with my husband, with water running down my legs. And it's the most degrading, awful, disgusting feeling I have ever felt in my life. I felt sick that I was being sent home like this, that I was told I was going to lose my baby, I will miscarry, I will go into labour, yet I was being sent home just after a few hours of being admitted into hospital. I went home, I took the antibiotics, and I remained at home. Oh, she also said to me that I could go back to work the next day. In my eyes, I was in absolutely no fit state. My mental well-being was not in the right place, and physically, every time I moved, I was losing more water. So common sense told me that there's no way I could go to work. I spoke to my GP, who luckily was on my side and agreed to sign me off for 2 weeks at a time. I know that no one believed that I would make it to where I got to. However, he was great. He was really helpful. So I was given weekly appointments where I went and had my blood tests done. But more importantly, the support that I got from Little Heartbeats was just amazing. So I felt extremely let down by the NHS from the hospital that I was in. I vaguely remembered seeing a post on Facebook about a friend of mine, her sister having a premature baby. So I contacted her and actually spoke with her for about an hour on the phone. And they hooked me up to the Little Heartbeats Facebook page, where I found success stories, I found the regime, I met Kiara, and basically this is one of the things that got me through my journey. So I went in out of hospital every week, having my blood test done, going home, losing more water. I was on strict bed rest. I followed the regime, drinking water, making sure I ate lots of protein and healthy foods. Every time I went to the hospital for a checkup, there was never a consultant there in sight. Nobody came to see me. I saw just a midwife. I made a complaint because I hadn't seen anybody, and then I finally had an appointment with a consultant who again told me I should terminate my pregnancy. I had a scan of the baby, and it showed that I had no measurable fluids whatsoever. I was told all the negative stuff, that he will have brain damage, he will have cerebral palsy, he will be blind, he will be deaf, he would have club feet, he would have this, he would have that. And the baby was in breech and had his legs stuck up by his head and couldn't move due to me having no waters. I contracted a couple of infections whilst on my PPROM journey, and I was admitted into a hospital in London, which is not where I live, so it was a good 3-hour journey for me from home. As I said, I've got another son, so it was very difficult being away from home. However, after a week of being there and spending my birthday and Valentine's Day in this hospital, I was then discharged, which again I queried because I believe I was starting labour and had a show. I was told no, it was common to see that in a pre-POM pregnancy. So I was discharged, where I sat 3.5 hours in the car, my dad's car, on the way back to my house. I was told by this hospital that I would have an antenatal appointment the following day with my local hospital, so not to worry. I then went into my local hospital the following day, where my bloods were taken, and I was extremely sick by this time. My infection levels had absolutely shot through the roof, and again, at about 10:30 in the morning, after going in at 10 in the morning, I was admitted into hospital. The consultants there obviously were concerned that if the baby was born, he would be very poorly and need a level 3 neonatal care. I was currently in a level 2. So the idea was to transfer me to a level 3 hospital. By this time, I was in incredible pain and kept expressing my concern that I was in labour. However, I was told that I wasn't, even though I wasn't monitored at all, and I was told I was being shipped off to another hospital, level 3, which I was fine with because I wanted the best care for my son when he was born. Sadly, it took 8 hours for me to be transferred. Well, to start with, 8 hours. An ambulance turned up. They decided they didn't want to take my husband in the ambulance after them having a cup of tea. So they then left me at the hospital. Now, my husband's Egyptian and he doesn't know his way around the country, let alone the local town. So they said they would give him instructions on how to get there if we went in the ambulance. It wasn't good enough because we did tell the hospital that he would be coming with me. And as I knew I would be having a cesarean, there was no way I was going to be having a cesarean in another hospital all on my own. I needed my husband there. After a lot to do and my dad coming up to the hospital and me being extremely distraught, we then got an ambulance, and I believe it was something like 10, 12 hours by the time we were transferred to this hospital. So my son Faris was born on the 19th of February 2016. He weighed 2 pounds 2 ounces, and he was born in extremely poor condition. When we arrived at this other hospital, the first thing they did was monitor me, and soon became apparent that I was in labour and I was dilating, and they needed to get this baby out ASAP because he was getting extremely distressed. So my emergency caesarean was very, very urgent and was a real emergency. In fact, we just had no time to think about it. Faris was resuscitated at birth 3 times. And was very, very sick, as was I. I met with the paediatrician there prior to my caesarean. I met with the paediatrician at my local hospital. I met with the paediatrician after Faris was born, which is when they told me he was very, very sick and they needed to transfer him to a level 3 hospital. Now, my understanding is that we had been transferred to a level 3 hospital. So we were actually transferred to another level 2. Which was completely and utterly irresponsible and wrong. Extremely upsetting because my baby was now being shipped off to another hospital in London, 2-hour drive away, and I couldn't go with him because I was too sick from my caesarean and lost a lot of blood. They wheeled my bed into the intensive care unit where I got to see him and touch him and take videos and photos of him before he was taken to another hospital, which my husband went with him. He was then taken to another hospital in London after that first hospital. So he was actually transferred twice the day he was born, which we all know is extremely dangerous for a very sick premature baby. I managed to get a bed transferred to this second hospital the following day. Which again was a complete and utter shambles because nobody would pay for my ambulance because I was out of area. So they sent me in a minibus with a cannula in my arm after severe surgery and losing a lot of blood with a midwife, which in my eyes, what good was a midwife, because I'd had the baby. What I needed was a paramedic. So they dosed me up on morphine to send me to the hospital where my son was. So I had no idea what was going on other than I felt extremely sick. So my son Faris was in intensive care in this London hospital for 2 weeks. He was then transferred back to our local hospital, which obviously I went with him and was discharged then myself. My care was just absolutely dreadful. I got to 24 weeks and I requested steroid injections and was told that they didn't see much point in me having steroid injections due to it being a waste of money because my baby wouldn't make it. Sadly, I had to dictate my care, and for those of you that do know me, it's very out of character for me to be so forceful, but this was my baby's life at risk. So I demanded them steroid injections. I wrote my own care plan. I contacted the Royal College of Gynecologists. I followed the NICE guidelines, and every appointment I had at the hospital, I took those guidelines with me. I highlighted areas which I made them agree to. I also asked them to write in my notes that I had been offered a termination and to stop asking me. This is when I reached 24 weeks. Sadly, I can't say I was supported by my employer either, but I won't go into details about that. NICU was a very tough journey. It's a roller coaster of emotions. My son Faris has had 7 blood transfusions. He's had lots of infections. He's had lots of scares. He had a bleed on the brain. He was on oxygen for 4 weeks when we came home. He's had a hernia operation, which they have since found that he is infertile. He's being tested for cystic fibrosis. However, he is the happiest, most beautifulest little boy I've ever seen in my life. Yes, I'm biased, but he truly is a miracle. I was told so many times this baby would not survive. This baby needs to be terminated. This baby will have this. This baby will have that. However, sheer determination, sheer teamwork with my baby. I also believe that my forever business and my mindset coaching and writing a journal on a daily basis has helped me get through this awful journey. I was positive as much as I could be. Yes, of course, everyone would worry going through this. But what I want to say to you is if you are going through this at the moment, please speak to me or speak to another mum who has experienced it. Don't just accept what the medical profession tell you, which is to terminate your pregnancy. Like I've mentioned, doesn't necessarily mean it will be a successful outcome, and there are some really sad stories. But who are we to judge that? You know, he made it. He's gorgeous. He's amazing. He is a fantastic little boy. Yes, it's been hard, but please, 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 if you are going through this, please just speak to somebody about it. Don't just accept what you're told. If I had done that, then my son Faris would not be here today. He is 6 months old from yesterday, 3 months corrected, and he's a thriving, happy, gorgeous little boy. I want to thank you all for listening to me. I want to wish you all absolute so much love in the world, and I pray and I just wish I could help you in some way. We need to get more awareness out there. It's so important for any mums that are going through this. And please don't hesitate to contact me. You can find me on Facebook. As I've said, my name is Davinia Watson. I would happily speak to anybody that's experiencing this. And I just wish you the best of luck in the whole wide world. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye bye.